What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chicken coming at you again. I wanted to talk to you today about skill point spread and how you may or may not be like myself. While I do have two of my four characters that are incredibly focused and they do specific things, there's two that kind of have done a little bit of everything over the time that I've been playing this game, and I never really took the time to focus in on them. I wanted to start today by showing off my most spread out character that I have. Along the way, I was interested in building, and then I was interested in doing some combat, and then I had changed my mind a couple of times on what kind of combat I wanted to do, and really I was okay at a lot of things, but not really good at any one thing. Over time, I kind of realized my mistake and did my best to kind of focus in, at least with this character, and kind of steer it in one direction. Well, I never really took the time to get rid of some of those skills that I just wasn't using anymore. I always thought, well, maybe one day I'll get in my prophecy again, and do the fun stuff with the prophecy. And as much as I like drones, I just wasn't using the ship, and it kind of came to an epiphany point when I was asking the same question on my main account, where I had about 20 million extra skill points at the time, and 10 million extra skill points actually, and I started asking around to a bunch of different people, and everybody had their own answer on what they thought would be a good idea for me to kind of push into. Should I add a large weapon skill? Should I add frigates and one or two small weapon skills? I had bubble skills, so should I add destroyers to that account and then have the ability to be the light and heavy dictor? Well, this account is a good example of how much I spread out and didn't really go back and fix it, if you will. When I was talking to a close friend of mine, he was in a similar position. He flew his Garmer, he liked his rail ships, he also he had a Megathron Striker, he had the skills for a Macarial, he also had the skills to fly an Ashimu, and he also had some industrial skills. And in the conversation with him, I was able to help him kind of realize what he actually had fun in the game right now, and asked him just point blank, do you want to be okay at being a Garmer pilot and a Megathron pilot and Ashimu pilot and a Prophecy pilot, or do you want to be great at just a couple of those things? Now, in an upcoming video, I do plan on doing an interview with him. We went through and we got rid of some of the skills that he wasn't doing anymore. He retired a couple of those ships that I just mentioned, and in doing so, almost immediately, he had an amazing time. He noticed that the ability to fly the ship that he was in got a lot better, both in damage and maneuverability. And I think a lot of other pilots are in a similar situation. I have all these extra skill points, or I have all these skills that I don't use anymore. What do I do? And my advice to anyone out there in the same position is to think about it, really think about it, and figure out, do you want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none? Or do you want to be really good at a few things? I hope that you'll make the same decision that I made and that my friend made. I have had an immense amount of fun on my main character, and the only reason I'm not showing that one right now is because it is fully refined. And there would be no point in showing, a character who focused on just a few things. But this character, I think, is a good example of where everybody kind of sits. A little bit in every one of these categories except applied science. And at the same time, a good 3/4 of this stuff I probably don't use. Now I have begun the process of resetting some skills because I only have 319,000 of those Lazarus points left. I adjusted some things and made it better for me to get to. I kind of dove into frigates and dropped some of my cruiser stuff. I wasn't ever flying cruisers. Will I keep the battle cruiser stuff? I don't know. I am having a lot of fun with the rails right now, personally, and I got a little bit of shield and a little bit of armor. I really only fly shield ships right now. Will I be getting rid of the armor? I got some engineering skills here. And same idea, I got rid of some of the cruiser stuff because I just wasn't flying cruisers anymore on this account. And here you'll notice I've really kind of pushed into drones, or I'm sorry, rails, but I started to peel off some of those drone skills that I just don't use anymore. And that's the kind of thing I want to pass on. This is also my builder account, and so I got rid of my mining skills because I wasn't mining anymore, but I still was, building some ships for my corp mates, kind of offering a service to them, and that's where it became useful and great in that regard. So I made sure to push up expert frigate manufacturing to 554 so that anybody who wanted, to give me the materials to make their faction frigate, I could. And the same here with the faction, or with the battleships. Anybody who wanted to give me the materials to make them a battleship, I want to be able to do that to the best of my ability. And I think that helps out my corp in a lot of ways. And while at one point in time I did have different refining skills, I noticed that the one that I used most was the scrap metalling. And obviously nothing in corp management or trade. I used to make blueprints, but since I wasn't, making the blueprints, and blueprints were so cheap, I just didn't do that anymore. So I got rid of them. And that same thing with planetology. This character just doesn't do PI, and so it's totally fine to get rid of that. Yes, planetology is a great resource to have on a lot of different characters, but if you're not going to take the time to push the button, then it's just wasted skill points. And that's kind of the purpose of this video today, was to kind of give everyone that extra little bit of advice that you might have made some mistakes along the way, but no better time than now to really hone in on what you want to do on each of these characters that you have, whether it's one character or 4 characters like myself. It's something to really consider. What do you have the most fun doing on this specific character? Well, I hope that helped you all as much as those conversations helped me. Like I said in the previous segment, I did kind of give some advice to somebody, and their gameplay went from, at least at the time, went from being, kind of okay and kind of happy with what was going on to being ecstatic about the really quick change between going from being good at a bunch of things to being great at a few things. I have a follow-up interview scheduled with him as soon as he's available, so that video should be coming out next week sometime. Worst case scenario, it'll be about 2 weeks from now. I gotta wait for his availability to meet up with my availability. But I do want to say that I hope that this video kind of helped people who either have an abundance of skill points that they just haven't spent, or whether they have spent all their skill points and they're like, why did I do that? So thanks again for stopping by today. And if you have any questions, or if you have any tips that you want to share with other pilots, please leave them down in the comments below. Thanks again, and I hope to see you next time.